Good morning class 10th. Today we will be starting with a new chapter in political science, that is federalism. Before defining what is federalism, we will go to the example in the previous chapter, that was the example of Belgium and Sri Lanka. Let us get back to the contrast between Belgium and Sri Lanka that we saw in the last chapter. You would recall that one of the key changes made in the constitution of Belgium was to reduce the power of the central government and to give these powers to the regional governments. What was the change that came, or what was the amendment that came in the constitution of Belgium? It was that to reduce the power of the central government and to give the powers to the regional government. Regional governments existed in Belgium even earlier. Before the amendment also, there were regional governments in Belgium, and they had all their roles and powers. But all these powers were given to these governments and could be taken back or withdrawn by the central government. The central government had the authority to give the power and to take it back whenever they want, whenever the central government want. The change that took place in 1993, the amendment that took place in 1993 was that the regional governments were given constitutional powers that were no longer dependent on the central government. The power the regional governments got before was from the central government. Now they have the power through the constitutional only, through the constitution only. Thus, Belgium shifted from a unitary to a federal form of government. Before, the Belgium was a unitary form of government, and now it is a federal form of government. Now, what's the difference between a unitary form of government and federal form of government? The unitary form of government has a central authority, central government, where all the power is with the central government only. It can make state governments or local governments, but the power is still with the government. It can give the power whenever it wants to the state governments, and it can take the power back whenever it wants. So whole the power is with the central government. Now, the federal system. In the federal system, the central government is there, but there are state governments also who derives the power from the constitution. The central government cannot take the power of the state government whenever it wants. The central government is there, it has different powers. The state government is there, it has different powers according to the constitution. The central government cannot, whenever it wants, take the power of the state government. That is not allowed. So that's the difference between a unitary method and a federal method. Unitary method, all the power resides with the central government. In federal, the constitution divides the power according to the need of the country. It can have central government, then state government, then also district governments or local governments according to the need of the country, and the constitution gives the power to the governments. Sri Lanka continues to be, for all practical purposes, a unitary system where the national government has all the powers. Tamil leaders want Sri Lanka to become a federal system. Now Sri Lanka is still a unitary system, and the national government or the central government has all the powers. Tamil leaders, what do they want? They want a federal system. Now, starting with the definition of federalism, or what is federalism? Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and the various constituent units of a country. Here, as we saw, the federalism is a system in which the power is divided between a central authority or central power, and then the constituent units also have their different powers. The power is divided between central authority, that is central government, and various constituent units of a country. It can be state governments, it can be local governments. So not only the central power has all the authority, but also the state units and the local units have the power. Usually a federation has two levels of government. Like in the previous example, in the diagram we saw the central government and the state government were the two levels of government. One is the government for the entire country, that is usually responsible for a few subjects of common national interest. One is the government of the entire country. For the whole country there is one government, that is the central government or union government, which is responsible for few subjects, few topics like defense, that is of common national interest, defense and foreign trade, foreign relations, human resource development, education. The others are governments at the level of provinces or states that look after much of the day-to-day administering of their state. The second level of the government is state government. The state government looks after the day-to-day administering of their state. They look after the day-to-day activity of the state. That is, the law and order is maintained, the entertainment system is going well, the traffic system is going well. Both these levels of governments enjoy their power independent of the other. Both these levels of governments have their different powers and different areas to administer it. So they do not interfere in each other's work usually. The power of both are different and no one can take it away. Like the central cannot take the power of state government away, and the state government cannot take away the power of the central government. In this sense, federations are contrasted with unitary governments. Federations are different from unitary governments. Under the unitary system, either there is only one level of government or the subunits are subordinate to the central government. Like in the diagram we saw, the central government was the sole authority and the subordinates were under the central government. They took the power from the central government, or the central government gave the power to the subordinate units, subunits. The central government was the sole authority. The central government can pass on orders to the provincial or the local government. In the unitary system, the central government is the main authority and can pass on orders to the provincial or local government. But in a federal system, what happens? The central government cannot order the state government to do something. The state government has its own power and the central government has its own power. The central government doesn't have the sole authority and it cannot order around the state governments or the local governments. State government has power of its own for which it is not answerable to the central government. State government has powers that it derives, that it gets from the constitution and not from the central government. So state governments are not answerable to the central governments. Both these governments are separately answerable to the people. Like the state government and central government, who chooses them? Who makes the government? The representative of the people. The elections happen and the people choose the representatives. So the representatives of the state governments and the representatives of the central government are answerable to the people only. Who makes them? Who chooses them? Who elects them? Okay. So the state government and the central government both are answerable to the people and both cannot interfere in the work of each other. Let us look at some of the key features of federalism. There are two or more levels of the government, like here we saw in the federal diagram, the central government, state government and the district government, district or local government. There were more than two or more than two levels of government. That's how federalism is made. At least two or more than two. Different tiers of government govern the same citizens, but each tier has its own jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation and administration. There are three, in this diagram, there are three tiers of government. All have different power, but for example in India, the central government, the state governments and the local governments have the same jurisdiction, same people under them but different jurisdiction. Like here, the whole of the country is administered by the central government. Then the states are administered by the state governments, and the local areas or the districts are administered by the local government. So the area is same, the people are same, the people of India, but the jurisdiction is different. What is the meaning of jurisdiction? The area over which someone has legal authority. The area may be defined in terms of geographical boundaries or in terms of certain kinds of subjects. So jurisdiction of different governments is different. In specific matters of legislation, taxation and administration, how they form the laws in that state, how they collect the taxes, how they administer the area. Like the entertainment tax is collected by the state government. So how they collect that tax, how much percentage of tax is there, that depends on the state government. The income tax is determined by the central government. So the state government cannot tell the central government to take this much percentage. Jurisdictions of the respective levels or tiers of government are specified in the constitution. How do they know that this is my jurisdiction or this is my area, this is my authority, this is here I have the authority? All of this is written in the constitution. Like I told you before, the constitution tells who has what power, which tier has what power, and where to administer that power. So the existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. The existence and authority of each tier, the constitution guarantees it. It does not depend on the central government, it does not depend on any other level of government. The constitution tells that this type of government should exist and it has this power, or this is this authority. The fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. The fundamental provisions of constitution, that is whatever is defined in the constitution, one level of government cannot change it. Unilaterally means single-handedly. Such changes require the consent of both the levels of government. If there are two levels of governments, both the levels of government should consent, should agree that the constitution should be amended. Courts have the power to interpret the constitution and the powers of different levels of government. Courts have the power to how to interpret the constitution, and they tell the powers of the different levels of government. See, whenever there is a fight in between state and central government, whenever there is a disagreement in between state and central government, the court sees the constitution and tells that in whose jurisdiction this matter comes and who should handle this matter. The highest court acts as an umpire if disputes arise. If the disagreement or dispute arise, the highest court, that is Supreme Court in India, and there are different names for the highest court in different countries, it acts as an umpire between the two teams, or between the different levels of government in the exercise of their respective powers, so that the state government does not interfere in the matter of central government, and the central government does not interfere or come in between the power of the state government. Sources of revenue for each level of government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy. Financial independence. Like if state government if state government has to have money from central government, so central government can interfere in their rights also. They can say that you have to do this, then only we will give you the money. So that's why different revenue sources have been defined, so that the government does not have to bow down or does not have to ask for money every time from the other government, from the main government. Sources of revenue like income tax, comes under the authority of central government, and the entertainment tax, traffic and all the levies comes under the jurisdiction of the state government. The federal system thus has dual objectives. The federal system has two objectives: to safeguard and promote unity of the country while at the same time accommodate regional diversity. They want to safeguard or save the and promote unity of the country, as well as they want that all the regional diversity, all the regional differences can be accommodated, can be taken into the country. Therefore, two aspects are crucial for the institutions and practice of federalism. Two things are very important for the institution and practice of federalism, so that federalism can work properly. Governments at different levels should agree to some rules of power sharing. They should also trust that each would abide by its part of the agreement. The governments of different level should have some rules that how power should be shared. They should also trust that each would abide by its part of the agreement. An ideal federal system has both aspects: mutual trust and agreement to live together. If the state governments and the central governments keep on fighting with each other, the country will not have anything going on. The development will stop and everything will be focused, all the resources will be focused on the fights of central and state governments only. So state and central government should have the mutual trust and agreement to work together. The exact balance of power between the central and state government varies from one federation to another, from one country to another. How the balance of power is there, how much power is with the central government, how much power is with the state governments, that differs from country to country, from one federation to another. This balance depends mainly on the historical context in which the federation was formed. Historical context, that is historical situation. How the federation was formed. Sometimes the central government has the more powers, sometimes the state governments has slightly more powers over taxes and everything. So the balance depends mainly on the historical context. There are two kinds of routes through which federations have been formed. There are two kinds of routes. There are two kinds of ways through which federations have been formed, have been built. The first route involves independent states coming together on their own to form a bigger unit, so that by pooling sovereignty and retaining identity, they can increase their security. See, many independent states, many independent countries came together and form a bigger unit, so that if they are together, they have their independence also, while they also have the security. Because if there are small countries, they will not have much power to handle the defense system. So if they come together and pool themselves into a bigger unit, they can retain their sovereignty as well as they can retain their identity and increase their security. This type of coming together federations include the USA, United States of America. That's why it is called United States of America, Switzerland and Australia. Here many states, many countries came together and built a bigger unit so that it can sustain themselves and it can take care of the security. In the first category of federations, all the constituent states usually have equal power. All the constituent states, that is all the countries, have equal power and are strong against the federal government. Here the states are more strong than the federal government, than the power sharing of the government. So you understand, in the first category, that is coming together federations, the states are more powerful than the federal or the central government. The second way is where a large country decides to divide its power between the constituent states and the national governments. In this, there is a large country, there is a huge country where it decides that the power should be divided between the states and the national government. India, Spain and Belgium are examples of this kind of holding together federations. The country is divided between the powers, the national government or the central government power and the state government power. In this second category, the central government tends to be more powerful against the states. Very often, different constituent units of the federation have unequal powers. There are many times that constituent units, that is the units that build the constituent part of the federation, have unequal powers. Sometimes the states have more powers and the central authority has less powers. Sometimes the central government has more powers and the state has less powers. Some units are granted special powers. Some units are given special powers. Like in holding together federation, the states are given less power than the central or national government. In the coming together federation, the states are constituent states are given more power than the federal government.